Subscribe to this channel.
Welcome to the Underestimated Voices podcast, where we amplify the voices of those that have been overlooked and underestimated. Join us as we share their inspiring stories and shed light on the issues that matter most. It's time to give these voices the platform they deserve.
Hey, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to the Underestimated Voices podcast, where we amplify the underestimated and empower the unheard. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a topic that affects so many of us: loneliness. Do you remember a song by Akon? Lonely. I wish I could sing. I've ever felt lonely, even surrounded by a bunch of people. It's a common issue of today's world. But the good news is that there are simple ways to overcome it and find happiness. I know that when you feel lonely, sadness, it creeps in just like that. Here's my story. I had several years of my life feeling pretty much lonely. Even when I was surrounded by people, certain days I felt as if nilineka, as if I'm the only one, mcharo. But you know what? I decided to turn things around and find happiness in my own way.
You know, you can sort out loneliness in an evil way, but nope, that wasn't my way. I had to find the godly way of sorting out my loneliness and find happiness. Evil happiness has got its own consequences, so nope, I preferred to find happiness the godly way.
I started by reaching out to people physically and also making new friends. I joined different groups and I discovered joy in interacting with a bunch of great people, positive-minded people. I also discovered a passion for podcasting. My calendar now, it's fully packed and I'm loving every minute of it. I found out that by putting myself out there and embracing new experiences, I could banish these feelings of loneliness for good. Now, I always smile. My smile never fades, and I've got a story to tell. I'm a living testimony that a little effort and a lot of heart, anyone can overcome loneliness and find true happiness. Loneliness can take a toll on our mental well-being and even lead to extreme cases of depression. But fear not, muntu wangu, because we've got some great tips that helped not only me, but also those that I learned from how to overcome loneliness and embrace a happier and more fulfilling life. Before I give you the tips, here's the thing that you should be able to know. There's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Being alone is simply a physical state. It means there's no one around you. And feeling lonely is a mental state. It's totally possible to feel lonely even when surrounded by a bunch of people. So, you might ask yourself, why do we feel lonely? Well, it could be that we are in a wrong place or wrong company. For example, you are in a gathering and no one knows you. It's natural for you to feel out of place. If you are surrounded by friends or people who don't really care about you, it can also lead to feelings of loneliness. That is the other reason why some certain people feel lonely. Another big contributor to loneliness in today's world is the internet. Internet is not a bad thing. It's a valuable resource, but it can also lead to feelings of isolation if not used in a right way. Many people on social media are focused on gaining followers and looking super cool. Rather than forming genuine connections with others will be there bullying others and frustrating others with fake lives. We've all been in this situation where everyone is glued to their phones, scrolling their feeds instead of engaging with each other. I remember I was on a bus one day. This guy, he was on socials, then he was scratching my head, thinking that is his. After I spoke to him, I was like, sorry boss, I thought that I was scratching my head. He was so lost in his own world. He wasn't even aware of his physical space. And when you look at kids of these days, they would prefer playing video games indoors rather than spending time with friends outdoors. It's easy to neglect quality time these days with our loved ones when we are constantly plugged into the digital world. But here's the thing. Social media itself isn't the cause of loneliness. Get this right. Social media isn't the cause of loneliness. It's about how we use it. Loneliness can affect people of different ages. It can lead to a range of health, mental issues, from suppressed feelings and overthinking to poor performance and stress. But there's also some good news. The good news is that loneliness can be conquered.
Hi, my name is William Sonda from Lusaka, Zambia, and you're listening to the Underestimated Voices podcast.
Here are some tips that I was told, and I hope you have the courage to overcome these feelings of isolation and find happiness in loneliness. Number 1, make real connections. Whether you are at school, home, or maybe you are on a bus, take time to talk to people and express yourself. Share your thoughts and ideas with others. It will make you feel lighter and more satisfied. Number 2, enjoy your own company. Learning to spend time with yourself is so important. Embrace self-care and self-love and find joy in doing these things you love, even when you are alone. Treat yourself out. Such things. Number 3, find a hobby. If you're struggling to figure out how to spend time with yourself, finding a hobby could be the answer. Whether it's reading, dancing, singing, podcasting, find something that brings you joy. Number 4, join communities. There are countless online and offline communities filled with like-minded people. Whether you're into technology, art, podcasting, or anything else, there's a community out there for you. It's a great way to connect with others. The last thing is this: travel to new places. You don't need to take an extravagant vacation. Simply take a day trip to a new place nearby. It can work wonders. Spending time in nature is incredibly healing, and experiencing something new can lift your spirits. So, loneliness is a mental state that can be changed by making the right choices, by making real connections, enjoying your own company, finding a hobby, joining communities, and traveling to new places. You can overcome feelings of loneliness and find happiness. So, muntu wanga, if you ever find yourself feeling lonely, remember that you have the power to change it. Embrace these simple techniques and watch as your life becomes filled with meaningful connections and joy. You deserve to feel happy and fulfilled. So go out there and banish those feelings of loneliness. As I always say, be you, do you, and mind your own business. It doesn't hurt. This has been the Underestimated Voices podcast, amplifying the underestimated and empowering the unheard. Ka feeling ka loneliness mundu wanga, nika face che, it will pass. May God give you strength, may God give you direction. Stay blessed.
Thank you for tuning in to the Underestimated Voices podcast. Remember, the power of a voice can change the world. Keep listening, keep sharing, and keep amplifying those underestimated voices. Together, let's make a symphony of stories that resonate far and wide. Stay inspired, stay curious, and join us again next time for more incredible narratives. Until then, keep listening and let your voice be heard. This is the Underestimated Voices podcast, amplifying the underestimated, empowering the unheard.